character. And that's why you find men who are so harsh outside there, when they come home, they calm down. Why? Because this woman has influenced him such that when he comes home, he knows that now here I cannot roar like a lion because I have people who hear me and I also need to listen to them. So I say that every woman has influence at her level. Whether gone to school or not gone to school, you just have influence. I come from the Maasai community where we have many, I would say many challenges as women, but at the same time, I would say that it gives us experience to grow. Because in my community, women never used to lead. All the women who came into leadership, they fought their spaces. But now we are learning and seeing that, oh, we don't need to fight our space. I just need to hold your hand. And if I hold your hand, then you realize, oh, so this woman is helping me. And then you give me space. And that's how we have come into leadership. And that is what now we call grace. When you come like that, no one fights you and you don't fight. Then we complement each other and work together. So I would say one of the things that we have is influence. It only depends how you influence, whether positive or negative, but we all have influence.
What about empathy? Empathy.
I was coming
yeah,
there.
I could feel you. I think empathy feelings.
I had two points I wanted to mention. Yes. The first one I will talk about, and then I'll come to empathy, is nurturing. I think that's a quality that God just bestowed on women. And so they will nurture even a very small plant and it will grow. And that becomes a role and a key role that women play, whether it is at home, in the society, or wherever they are. And now, as you talk about empathy, they are able to feel with you what you are going through. Like the story we discussed during the break time, you come in and you have an issue and the boss doesn't want to hear or even understand. But I'm sure if the boss was a lady, now I am giving credit where it should be. If the boss was a lady, she would have listened. Yes, what was that you said? Oh, I'm sorry about that situation, and have been able to work with you. And you didn't have gone back there to just write, thank you very much for the job. I will see you at the top. That may sound like a very difficult situation, but it does. And I want to give a small example of a young man. I said I work at the university. This young man, COVID was a hard time for all of us. The universities experienced it very badly. But when we returned, his mother, who didn't pass on when the height of COVID was, passes on. And so he's left with his brother and his uncle. And the brother is younger and the uncle isn't having too much wealth. And he arrives in class and I ask him, so-and-so, why are you looking so sad? And I talk to him and we talk and he told me, I'm sorry, but my mom is unwell. And in a short while, I got to knowing now the mom has passed on and the students went to support. That empathy, they will walk with you. Later on, when the new semester opened, he actually did not have school fees. So he kept missing out on my classes. And so I called him and I asked class, what do we do? And they said, madam, I think you can do something. So when you empathize, you also want to develop people, you want to grow with them, and you want to give them an opportunity. And we just collected a few shillings that he needed. And in 1 hour, from students and myself, we were able to raise his school fees for that academic semester. He graduated finally. And this is what he wrote. That's why it's important to work with them. Mom, if you hadn't been there, he even forgot I'm supposed to be the teacher. Now I became his mom. Mom, if you hadn't been there in that episode, I would never have become what I am. I am forever grateful. Those are the kind of things that make us know, oh, okay. I actually didn't have a lot of money. I only had 1,500. But the thought was able to raise. And so we have to be willing to listen, work with the people, take them from where they are, and then if there is a way that I could contribute for your development, time, space, and the resources, we work together. And I think that would be one way that you find women will enter into leadership very naturally because people out there are hurting. And then that bit of bringing down a team, I called it the 12 students, they were only 12, and managed to do what the Lord helped us. And that we have to work together. Thank you.
You know, it's interesting, eh? When Jesus was with the disciples and they were, preaching, teaching, and it was evening, and the disciples, who were his kitchen cabinet, so to speak, watu wa ndani, karibu, What did they tell him? He said, hey, master, see, you tell these guys, they go ajipange, we speak tomorrow. Wako na njaa. He had empathy.
Yes.
He had compassion.
Yes.
And they wondered, okay, so how do you feed these people?
5,000.
5,000. What did he say?
Well, they even had a good understanding of the scripture.
Yeah.
And they said, even a whole year's salary.
It's not enough.
Let's make up a shida.
So they did not even look at what else did they have about the grace of God and the Lord Jesus.
And who was it who had the loaves and the fish?
A young boy that was given by the mother.
Lunchbox.
Yes, the lunchbox.
What did he do? He prayed.
Yes. Bless and gave thanks.
And gave thanks. And he instructed them, organize all these guys into lots.
Yes, of 12.
No, in groups.
In groups of 12.
Yes.
And then they started
dishing out.
And now here is where I can understand the language being very patriarchal, because even in the Bible it says it fed how many? 5,000 men.
And never counted women.
But the women, of course, were there. But they were leftovers.
We are more.
There were even more.
Yes.
Women and children.
Yes,
there will be 3 times.
The patriarchy started a long time ago.
The point is that with what you have.
Yes.
Moses, when he said he disqualified himself with everything and said, what do you have in your hand?
Yeah.
So even you, stepping in as the mom, what is it that you had in your hand?
I only had 1,500.
But look at what it did.
Yes.
And today you forever etched.
Oh, yes.
And I'm sure that young man respects women.
Yes.
Yeah.
And himself and others.
Yes. And he feels very happy.
Of prayer and opportunity.
Yeah, that is what Daktari has just said is characters of leadership. And that is why you don't need to have gone to school for you to be a leader. It comes from the inside. You see, empathy, you don't go to school and you're taught to be kind. You're just told in Sunday school, actually. Ile tulikuwa tunaambiwa na mwalimu wa Sunday school, ukiwa wewe ni mchoyo utaenda kwa shetani. So you are like, hey, I don't want to go to hell. I would rather be kind. Yeah. That was the only thing. But the others are, you don't do an assignment at an exam of empathy. No. This is just an inward character.
Empathometer, like the other one. Passion. They are not measuring passion in Parliament. What is it?
No, our parliamentarians have every new language. As they do the laws, they also make new language. Yeah. But compassion.
Compassion.
Do we have it? When I see you struggling on the road, am I drawn towards you, to finding out, to offering, even if it's a cup of water?
But what about, let me throw some, let me muddy these waters a bit.
Yes.
Have you experienced those who, as you seek to do everything right, like you are leading by grace, but you have others in the room who won't take advantage of that? How do you deal with it?
Oh, yes. There are many.
And I want you to speak to it even from a church setting.
Yeah. In leadership, you interact with so many characters. You have people who like you, people who don't like you. At the same time, you have people that, I would not want to use this word, but let me use it, hypocrites. People who pretend to be good to you, yet they're on the other side. In my native language, we have a proverb, is it a proverb or something that we say, the way a rat bites you and inakupuliza. Inauma. So you will not even know that umeumwa until you find yourself with a kakidonda. That's when you will know. So we have such kind of character. But before you know them, you will have moved on. You will have done your thing. Then you come and realize later. So you have to be very sober when dealing with this thing. because it can break you and it can still make you. Once you realize that this person is a hypocrite, for me, number one, what I do is to step away from him or her. You pole pole too, you withdraw. Then when you are so annoyed, you should not react on it because you will do things that you didn't expect. But you calm down, you give it time, and then afterwards you come and react. But the best thing is first to calm down. But behind your mind, you know, there are people who don't like you, there are people who are not supporting what you're doing, and that thing will bring a challenge to us. So you should know that you have all characters. It's like the marketplace. Yeah.
But you see again,
maybe just to add
yes,
there,
add on to that, and I'll
yes.
touch on something as you compliment on the same. The same person you're running away from could be the story of Jonah trying to run away from God. Maybe that person who is a hypocrite, as you call him or her, was sent by the Holy Spirit for a reason.
Yes.
So will you escape them? Na umetumwa na Mungu kukusumbua.
Okay. Ametumwa. That is very important. I'm looking at the point that all of us are very different. You will have some people who either think very highly of themselves or they are higher. There are others who are down here. And then you have those ones that are kind of in the middle, are at your par. And with all those three levels, you need to lift each one of them so that you can move together with them. And when I'm thinking about that and looking at the grace of God upon our lives, which I said that has to be shed abroad so that it can manifest and work. And I'm saying we actually require that grace. Otherwise, you cannot lead people who are thinking too high about themselves, or they don't even want to listen, or they are down here and they are feeling so downtrodden. So you need to lift them so that you can have a table, a level playing table where you can discuss and listen to one another. And I'm saying this because sometimes somebody will be, what you have said, sent actually and wants to trigger your temper. And then I'm reminded by the word of God, let our speech be seasoned with salt so that it brings, grace to the hearer. So somebody has to hear, how do I talk? Proverbs 15:1 says, so that one was in Ephesians. Proverbs 15:1 says that a soft answer will turn away wrath. But oh, unto you if you like harsh words, because those ones just bring destruction. And so sometimes you may be able to deal with somebody who's come high up, and you just, oh, okay, that is what you are saying. I'm sorry about it, and you calm down. If somebody has annoyed you, then the fruit of the Holy Spirit of forgiveness, kindness, gentleness with one another, and being patient. And that's why I said, if you don't have the grace of God in you, then you cannot lead with grace. And people will definitely take advantage, and they do very often. They'll ask for favors or even come pretending, and when you give, then you just say, well, the Lord allowed the person to come. He has a reason. But later on in life, you'll discover that that sending will meet the fish. So Jonah will still be vomited at the right place, and mine is to be faithful. Was I careful to do what the Lord would have me do?
You know, when they say that, wow, can you believe it? Time has rushed so
Imagine.
fast. But it's about time we took a break. But don't go too far, because on the other side of the break, there is so much more. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Stay on set. when God created the heavens and the earth, and then he formed, and then man, and then put man to sleep, the rib, gave him companion, and gave them a brief to superintend, oversee, take care of his creation. Are we paying the price for not following God's brief in terms of Mother Nature, climate? But all is not lost. This is where you come in and you'll be able to see what you are doing or complementing or others can learn. So the project that you're having and how it cascades to the rest of the country and even through the church. A little bit of insight. Why that project? What are we doing?
Yeah, so Modibo, it's true. Genesis 1 gives an account of creation, and God did it perfectly, and he was happy. And he says so in the book. Until we get to Genesis 3, where man falls, and with the falling of man, everything else falls. Creation is now groaning after the invention of sin, courtesy of Genesis 3, sin. And what has happened is with time, man has messed up, has interfered, has re-engineered ways of doing things to a point that we are now gasping for air. We have messed the creation that God gave us, and we have not gone in tandem with regenerating it as we use. I talked about horticulture. For instance, the gas emission from the greenhouses is a major thing, and it consumes the oxygen that is in the air. And therefore, areas or places that have advanced with greenhouses emit more gases out there than it should be. So the generation of agriculture or environment is what EWA stands for. And we have looked at what the government is doing and the whole globe is doing, and thought we should also plug in. The government has announced a program of 15 billion trees planting. And what EWA then has thought of doing is contributing its own share in that 15 billion. And so we are planting 10 million trees in every 2 rain season, God willing, using our networks. You know, EWA and EAK is countrywide.
Yes.
And the evangelicals are many. So if they are galvanized and they are organized and they are given leadership and they are educated and the awareness is created and there's communication, then we see ourselves contributing a fraction of those 15 billion with God's help.
And every 2 years, target 10 million. And you're in EWA. And I think the last time I could count, you are close to 6 million.
Yes, I would say that that's why leadership is about complement. We have Eunice working out that and ensuring that we are doing that. We intend to have a pilot nursery in Kimana. We have the land there that belongs to EAK. And we are saying as a Women's Commission, that is where we intend to have our pilot nursery for it. Then we have places that we depend on rain, and there are places that we have water from the river sources, from the boreholes. So that way we will spread our trees in churches, in schools, and we look forward meeting our targets.
And exceeding even.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But does it matter what kind of trees? Because you find that there are some trees, and this is where you can correct me, please, if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
There are some trees that are more harmful when you plant.
Yes.
And you think you're playing your part because you've planted a tree, but you're actually planting more harm.
Yes. We are also trying to look at the areas that we are planting trees. There are trees where, for example, the blue gum would do so well. There are places that the acacia would do so well. So we are also trying to see, and having people like Eunice who have the experience of agriculture and dietary purity, they are the ones who are spearheading this project. And we are doing the analysis. If the place is working well and acacia is good and more profitable in that place, that is what we will plant. If the blue gum will work well in another place, that is what we will plant in that other place. So we are having variety of trees depending on the areas. Yes.
And educate me, if you may. Indigenous trees seems then there must be some that's not indigenous. What are the others, and why is there preference? Fruit trees to encourage schools uptake in the home, so that then there's a sense of also you can. And must a tree be a tree that I see that is large, or a tree can be a shrub? The others, I don't know what they're called. There was a name they called them. With due respect, I'm hoping one is called Madenge here, where you've got these goats that go and they bite and they're more harmful in
It's
collecting.
true.
So unpack this for us and give us some advice.
So the strategy that we have put in place is, one, we are going to work with very many partnerships, because there are those who are specialists, experts in issues and matters climate action, in matters tree planting, tree nurturing, geographical zoning of these trees. So one of the first steps that we have done is enlisted EWA with the Ministry of Environment, with the Agroforestry Department. We are looking at signing an MOU so that then we can tap the extension services from them, because they have already done the survey. They know which trees work where, just like you're asking, are they fruit trees, which species will do well in Turkana, which ones will do well in Lamu, which ones will do well in Moranga. They are all different. So that's one. We are working with that ministry so that we can be told, when you go to Kajiado, in fact, some areas don't even dare plant because the animals will feast on them. There are some zones that you will do something else we call the climate adaptation, so that you are teaching the Maasais how to graze without having to erode, as opposed to planting trees. So yes, the concept also has the fruit trees as a major one, because we are talking about our members. And members are better off planting fruit trees in their compounds. Modibo plants 3 mangoes and 2 avocados, and as he feeds his family, the air that those trees emit becomes a cleaning air for the environment. So yes, we are using the indigenous species which are out there for timber, for different other use, furniture and so on, but also the fruit trees. The idea really is to involve not only the members, but even the primary schools. You know, if we catch the child knowing the importance of a tree and nurturing it, in fact, it's kind of a sign of ownership and pride that I planted this tree, and by the time I'm in class 8, the tree is up out there emitting oxygen. So that's the direction that we are taking. We are going to work in partnership with very many other organizations.
Collaboration, partnership, encouraging.
Yes.
The difference between planting a tree and growing a tree. I remember when growing up, and every time we'd go up country, my late dad would insist that we plant trees. Every visit we plant during the rainy season. Now if you go, you find that there are small forests, and you appreciate. And the late Professor Wangari Maathai said, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. So how do you encourage the collaboration and uptake? And who provides these tree seedlings? Because then there's a whole aspect of, how do I say, like we've got genetically modified trees.
Yes.
And you might be planting a fruit tree, thing is a mango, and it comes out to be an apple tree or some other giant tree that you never knew. How do you deal with that?
So we have developed a concept note, a strategic plan, because such a project you don't just wake up and do, which has gone through processes of discussion and testing with the ministries and the different organizations and partners. And we are mapping out every area that will take different species. One of the points that you brought, which is very important, is there is planting, but there is also nurturing. And I remember we were talking about nurturing earlier on. Nurturing the tree so that it actually gets maturity. most of the efforts that, one of the reasons why we are suffering with the climate action problems currently is because the call to plant was to plant just trees in public areas anywhere, and the more we do that, the more we fall into the trap, because then, there is nobody to nurture them. So our strategy, one of the key important bit of our strategy, which is almost setting us apart, is the fact that we are using our own members who have homes, who have schools, who have churches, who have hospitals, who have places where they can actually plant, nurture, and be accountable for them. We are really looking forward to seeing these trees in the next 2 years that we will be calling our trees all over. And yes.
Now, where do you get the tree seedlings from? Are they free? Do I come and knock at your church door, Pastor, and say, "Nipe seedlings," and I go, or I must buy, or where? Those watching this show and they're interested, so where do they go? Who do they turn to? Where do they ask?
Okay, the tree seedlings are available when you link up with the Ministry of Agriculture and the forestry team, wherever you are at the county levels. You'll be able to find free seedlings. And then if you have a problem, then you can also reach us. We can direct you to other places that you can find seedlings. But there are other seedlings that are being sold you can buy if you are able. But it is available. Seedlings are everywhere. They are available. There are so many. It's only that we have not been planting trees.
It's true.
Yes, but they're available.
Now, metaphorically, I want you to just transpose the whole initiative and playing your part. Now, you're women leaders.
Yes.
Where you are at. How do we measure the success of you as a woman leader, as opposed to the metric of measuring success for the tree seedlings? You've given 10 million every 2 years or 2 rainy seasons, God willing, 6 million membership. I can tick those boxes, I can count. But you as a leader, and I was counting those years, but you clarified that some were concurrent, some were consecutive. How do I judge you in terms of success? Is it by how long you stayed and refused to leave, or whether you nurtured the next generation? How do you want, what's your legacy?
Yeah, so thank you. So tree planting is just a project that should not define us forever. It will be good, of course, that we started, and it will be said that Emily and the rest of the team actually started an hour tree planting program, but it should go on and go forward. What we intend to do is ministry within the planting of the trees. We'll be ministering to the women. We'll be looking at their livelihoods. We'll seek to see whether we can bring out their other challenges like issues of water, issues of early child mortality, issues of health, and then bring on board packages of different goodies, if I call them so, that will help to improve the livelihoods of women. So we are not only looking at the trees, and in the process, of course, the ministry. We will bring out the gospel in the process of planting the trees. One of the other things you asked about the tree nurseries, the Ministry of Forestry has actually huge nurseries, and they are looking for organizations to front themselves to get the nurseries, the trees. So what we are intending to do is that once the awareness and the communication has been done, churches will have these seedlings within their reach. And so their members will be picking them as they go home on a Sunday. You can imagine on a pulpit at Nairobi Baptist, Pastor Mulandi telling us, today you have an offer of each of you 10 trees, seedlings, if you can carry. I mean,
yes,
everybody will want to carry some seedlings at home. And, yeah, so it will be quite a ministry, God willing.
And nurturing the next, because the tree, it will fall, birds will pick, the fruit will go elsewhere. It falls, then plants, nature, nurture, continues on.
Yeah. Yes.
But now you as a woman leader,
yes,
I still want to go back.
yes.
When is enough time for you to get off the stage? Or do we still meet in this show in 5 years' time, Jasonga?
No. There is one thing that we talk about in women, what we call nurturing, or rather the motherhood. As a mother, as a woman, you have an assignment to fulfill of bringing up someone. And that is what we do also in leadership. Once you're in leadership, you must be mentoring some people who will come after you. And for me, leadership is measured by what you do, not the time you have been there. I would use an example of Dorcas. When Dorcas died, the widows cried. And they didn't cry because she died. They cried because they were asking who will do the next activity in the church. So when Dorcas was being resurrected, not because of her absence, but because of what she did. So whatever we do is what will go ahead of us, is what will ensure that we deserved to be in leadership. Otherwise, you can stay there forever. Your term ends, you want to come again, but what have you done? Who have you left? And the one who is taking over you, where will she be picking from? So that is an assignment that we all have to fulfill, that one, our deeds must speak on our behalf. If you have been in error for 1 year, what have you done in this 1 year? If I have been there for 5 years, what have I done in 5 years? I have been in Free Pentecostal, that is my church. And in August, we had a conference, and I was actually stepping down from being their chair. And I had told them that for me, I feel like I have done my part for the last 5 years. Please allow me to sit down. And there was an anonymous cry for the women that we are not allowing you to go. You must finish what you started. We have seen what you have done and such like things. So I would say that I was so much humbled because they had something that they would show for me. And that is now what I said, that you need to have something that you can show at the table, that this is what I have brought. And because I have brought, I can give it to someone else to continue with it.
Pass the baton.
Yes, to pass the baton. So we have the trees, yes, but we also have the ministry. Like now, we are trying to initiate. There is the 10th of October, which is a free day for us. It's Huduma Day. But we don't do much. That is the day that we are saying, can we make women come and pray together? Apart from planting trees, we need prayer for our country. We need to stand in prayer to pray that God gives us rains, even for the trees to grow, to give us peace, to help us, and we want to nurture our country in prayer. So we are saying every 10th of October, we'll be having prayers in the counties. We want to run with that. And we have started, like in Kajiado, we shall have that prayer on 10th. We are combining efforts. We will have all the women there praying together. We also having it in Kilifi. They will also be doing it. We also have it in Wasingishu. So we want to start slowly. Then in the next 5 years, God willing, every county will be praying on 10th of October. We will be having women on their knees, praying and fasting for the country. That way, and what Eunice is also saying about the trees, we look forward to that time, that in Kajiado, we will be having the pastor akiwaambia, ndio hii miti kila mtu aende apande. And by then, like me, I was planting 5 trees in my home, in my small home yesterday. So we look forward for that. And that is what we want to leave as a legacy.
Yes.
I just wanted to add one other thing. Every organization has a policy and constitutional limits of offices.
Yes.
So really, leadership is passed on even courtesy of obedience to those structures that have been put in place. So in our, for instance, I think it is 6 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
And after that, really, one should have accomplished that which they were meant to do, so that then they give the baton to somebody else. But the other question you asked about is leaving a legacy that is made of the software part of things, you know, the kindness and the compassion and the generosity, just bringing the human emotional intelligence in whatever you're doing, so that you carry around people. Ordinary people will not even remember the projects. They'll remember what else you did, how you did it, what you said as you did it, you know. And that, I think, carries, like you had discussed earlier, it's leadership is a gifting, it's a calling that is with everybody, and it behooves one to keep nurturing and bringing it out and touching people as you accomplish the hardware of projects. Thank you.
And I like that because the one thing that you just said, obedience, fidelity to the law, of the Constitution, indeed, is also scriptural. I would like to suggest that God would rather obedience rather than sacrifice from you. And that's how we'll be measured, how time has flown. I'm so glad that we had you.
Thank you very much.
Eunice Mongera, Pastor Emily, and earlier on, Dr. Ngohi from Kenyatta University. Let's do this next time because this is the place where you'll tell someone to tune in. My name is Edmund Mudibo. Asante Sana. We value you for the privilege of your company. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you very much.